Well, hello there, everybody. As I turn off that and turn on this, and then I get over here and it's all really groovy. So, hello, everyone. How are you doing? So good to see you on this Friday. So, happy Friday. I like Ren and Stimpy, and you got to love Stimpy, happy, happy, joy, joy. And Stimpy never got the blues, he was always happy. It was Ren that had the attitude problem, but I digress. Hi, Mary Wins. How you doing, darling? Much love to you. Jill, good to see you. Chloe, Scotty Boy, and everybody else. Thank you, moderators, you lovely bunch. And Soul Tribe and everyone else. It is again Friday, so we got the favor thing happening. Yeah, we got the nothing missing, nothing broken reality. Not a bad place to be. In the afterlife, if you were to frame that, it's like, all right, you have to go deep in yourself and you're thinking, hey, if the only thing I got is my words, my thoughts, all right, so nothing missing, nothing broken. I don't know what that reality would be like, but I think it would be enjoyable. So be of service to others, and we are indeed prospering. So, Robin, what's up? Troublesome 993, good to see you as well. Lost in Space, Elderberry, what's up? Aaron, good to see you as well. I saw some other ones. K-Town, what's up, girl? Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah. This epiphany, I don't know if it was an epiphany. Do you know how you get when you get in times of where it's just quiet? No one's around you, it's quiet. And you just allow yourself just to be open, to the ocean has a wave to it, Yeah. And folks, we're on a river. And if any of you have ever done whitewater rafting, ever gone in, the bigger boats, or even if you've done on kayaking, the experience. And my whole point to this is that, you have a very tranquil river, very placid. It's just cool. You got the deers over there taking the water, and you can just barely hear something. Now, experienced whitewaters know that you hear that in the distance. It may be soft, may be quiet, but it means you need to start paying attention. And of course, at the same time, you're still being pushed ever forward. And you turn the corner and you look and you go, oh crap, you got like level 5 black, rapids ahead of you. And that's what this show is, because it's interesting, because it's everywhere. So I know that the collective is picking up on it. Every channel you look at, everything that's really in discussion is that we're trying to prepare ourselves mentally, but consciously, for what appears something that can't be stopped. David Barry, how are you? Much love to you, brother. How's the family? Good to see you, my friend. Missed you. DC, what's up? John, hello. Rapids will tear up a canoe. Yeah, I've seen him tear up a few rafts too, John, along the way, but my point is, and I'm just going to say this flat out, and I don't think it can be stopped. I think that all the switches have been pressed, but war is coming. It's coming. It's already here, but it's about to get interesting. I and it's just my opinion, I believe that the world is about to enter in what may be, in fact, the last war. I believe that there is, in fact, a definitive World War III that is unfolding. The sons of bitches lit the goddamn fuse, and there was no need for this. But regardless, the fuse is lit. It's just a matter of time as to how much cord we have before we reach that point. Digitally, I've known this, it's been ongoing for nearly over 2 decades. But digitally, in the digital domain, we have been at World War III. There is a website, I think it's I'll have to get it, RESO, I think. I have it in my archives, haven't been there in a while. But it is the map that shows you the attacks and the counterattacks on the whole globe. I mean, the United States, we attack. We're attacked, quite frankly. You can begin to see where the hot spots are, but yeah, it's been an ongoing War III for quite some time. But nevertheless, it's something that we all need to begin to take very seriously. I count myself fortunate in my lifetime to have met and gotten to know one of the survivors of Auschwitz. Her and her sister were in a number of the camps. Today, I think the celebration is 85 years, I think, that Auschwitz was liberated by the Russian forces. And the interesting thing about talking with Rose, we called her Grandma Rose, her and her sister still had the tattoos, where they were marked and identified. But the interesting thing was that she said, and I can remember the conversation, it's a Saturday night, that all the signs were there, all of them. But they didn't think that it would affect them. Her father was wealthy, was a doctor, my whole point to this is that it seems like we are on the dawn of repeating this. And once things reach a tipping point, at that point, I don't know what will be able to stop this. John Price wrote this in one of the comments earlier this week, and thank you, John, because it's one I've really been thinking about. And John, I'll just kind of paraphrase what you said, but he said, what if there was a truce? What if this paradigm that we're immersed into, what if, let's say, the antithesis, the bad guy, so that would be Satan, the devil. I doubt it's Lucifer. I just got to tell you, and only a person who is, I don't mean to be insulting by this, but simple-minded would believe that there is this Lucifer. But I digress. Do my Joe Biden. I digress. That's some creepy shit, man. Anyway, but let's just say Satan said, screw this. Man, I you know what? This sucks. I really thought I had this thing figured out. So he picks up the hotline, right? Hello. Need to speak to my brother, man. He's been waiting for you. And so the scenario goes forward that Satan says, hey, man, screwed up. Yep. And I'm sorry. And ask you to forgive me. I get it. I get it. No, there's been a lot of bad blood, but, I'm really sorry. I mean, would that change everything in this universe? Would our reality instantly, I don't know, revert back to what it was supposed to be? It's a great question, because if these religions are what they say they are, then forgiveness would be paramount no matter how you look at it. Forgiveness would be the foundation to a complete belief system. So what would reality become like? And why isn't that possible? Well, I know specifically chapter and verse where this Jesus character says, all things are possible to him who believes. Didn't have an ASCII on there and said, except on Sundays, and you only can burn a white candle. And no, it didn't have any of that. It just said all things are possible to those who can believe. I can dig that. So why couldn't there be in the multiverse? Why couldn't there be a universe where that's taken place? I mean, if we can think it, then it can be created. And, yesterday, I want to thank you for a lot of emails. Yeah, I know that was an intense video, but it had the effect that I was hoping for. And that is, it also kind of just, took down some sacred cows. I mean, we go within, we know that. The departure part is that we go within. Get that. But why is it that we can't think, all right, all things are possible? If that's the only thing I'm in meditation about, all things are possible, all things are possible, all things are possible. Well, then all things possible mean that that's possible. That in some multiverse out there, this war that exceeded our wars, and unfortunately, Homo sapiens, we're brutal. We're so regressed because we like war. We apparently like it a lot. But let me get back to the point here, not to lose the vibe and the energy. So in this universe, that battle doesn't exist anymore. There was a truce made. Everybody looked at each other and the tears come in, and you give the hug, man, and go, I'm sorry, brother, man, and you have that moment of true forgiveness. And you would definitely would then begin to enter into that place where there's nothing missing, nothing broken. I would say, wow, imagine in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, I don't understand why that couldn't happen. And if you get people, I think I read, John, in some of the comments underneath there, that someone said that they told that to a group of Christians and said, well, hey, listen, what if Satan came back and said, hey, man, I'm sorry, screwed up. And isn't it Jesus's mandate to forgive? I think that's what it's all about. So that would be the epitome of forgiveness. I mean, wow, think about that. I got a sense that would be so intense. Boom. In a flash. a billion milliseconds. And man, the whole energy changed. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why if you're for peace, well, then you can't have peace without reconciliation. Can't have peace without at least forgiveness. I mean, I think those would all lead to a very positive outcome. Yeah. Someone says there's forgiveness and there's defense. You see, it's an amazing what our species, it really is. I mean, I marvel at that. But no. We love this current paradigm. That's what it comes down to. We love it, because it's the only thing we know. And it scares the living crap out of us to really not know what's awaiting us. But the signs are everywhere. They are everywhere. So again, this whole thing with the tanks now getting involved, I see it's almost like Vietnam unfolding again. In Afghanistan, it's the same thing. We're sending over equipment that you have to be specifically have the aptitude, number one, to even qualify. And then you go through extensive training for these tanks. You just can't simply say, hey, you want one of these? Fine. I'll tell you what, I'll ship them over to you. The keys are down in the glove box inside the turret. Check it out. Don't work that way. So everyone can figure this next step out. It's no mystery. So then, in order not to really piss off the situation, you're going to send in advisors. That's how it always starts. Korea. We learned nothing in that. Well, that wasn't a big enough playground, and that's what it is. And so we went from Korea, and then we got in, and the thing about it is, the Vietnam, the whole Cambodia thing over there was, we picked it up from the French. France said, oh man, we got to get the hell out of here. Where can we find a sucker to unload this little geopolitical thing? And along come the United States. Yep. Hey, how you doing? Hey, would you like to have a little war? Well, we have all these munitions that, we've been carrying over all the way since the big one. Yeah, I think we could kind of dig that. Well, fine. Well, what do we need to get involved? Send some advisors. Same thing in Afghanistan. Mark my words, folks. So war is coming. No doubt about it. My question is that, when you back in nature, if you back an animal into a corner, not good. Not good at all. Because that animal, well, once all the defenses goes up, and now this is not a flight or fight. This is now survival. Decisions are made that are often poorly or not very well thought out. And most of these cats that are running the shows, world leaders, they got egos like this. I mean, why? Because, well, they get all the security and their meals. I mean, they don't have to worry about where they're going to be sleeping. They don't worry about where they're getting their next meal. They got power. And they got egos. And if you bruise their egos, if they have a big enough chest, well, and I think that that's unfortunately where we are at. So if the scenario that John Price wrote about, thank you again, John. So what if the evil of the universe, of this current dimension, said, had enough, you know, I wonder if it would affect us. I don't know. Morgan says, where are the peace talks? Yeah. We haven't suffered enough. The only reason why people go to peace talks is that because one side or the other, or both sides, are paying heavy penalties, heavy prices, dead bodies mostly. I mean, that was the big thing in Nam, body count. In fact, it was kind of like when the pandemic was going, on the nightly news, Walter Cronkite would come out and say, today, 1,100 American soldiers died, or whatever the number was. Body count. And when I talk about backing the wall, because you see, there are events already unfolding. We're living them. But I've had, and I will say, visions of, I saw two specific, what they would call tactical, low yield battlefield nukes. Yeah. And then come to find out, apparently, that I wasn't alone in that. Apparently, there are others in what I have been able to see who have seen similar things. So, yeah. So, I love the comments this is one of those serious ass situations. I dig it, man. I really do. And to me, it sucks. It does. It sucks. We learn nothing from the 60s and 70s. I mean, all the protest, nah. And in my lifetime, I'm seeing something play out that as a kid, that 6-year-old kid, that 7-year-old kid, in fact, I remember all the way up into 3rd grade still doing it, the fire alarm going off, and we would do the duck cover drill. Because if there was going to be a bright light out in the sky, we were told not to look outside, and part of the drill is with our teacher. I remember she would close the blinds and all of us would be underneath our desks, our desks with our hands covered, and your head is down in that. Yeah. I mean, and to think that now we're going into a point where such a scenario could actually happen, where there would be potentially children involved. This is a strange reality. This is a strange place. This dimension, this place, it's I mean, wow. It is a place that you just got to shake your head going, what the hell were they thinking? I mean, what were they thinking when they made this? Was this the purpose? I don't know. And many of you are old enough. Hey, Purgatory, how you doing? Of remembering. I do. I remember distinctly. I was living with my grandparents in Santa Clara, California. And the nightly news would come on at 6 p.m. And my grandfather watched either Cronkite or Huntley and Brinkley. And I remember distinctly hearing Walter Cronkite, and who was it? Was it, I forget the guy over in ABC, and they're showing pictures in the Gulf of Mexico of Navy frigates coming through, and along with, these Russian ships. Oh, nuts, isn't it? It's nuts. I mean, the youth today, I really feel sorry for them. I really do. Not saying that we didn't have it, any less challenging, but in a lot of ways, we didn't have technology, at least not in the sense of what we have it today. We didn't have that. We didn't have that prison cell. It's not to say that we weren't in a cell. We just didn't have it the way it is today. I don't know, folks. It's weird. So the title, someone wrote me earlier and said, "What is up with the freaking title?" And thank you for hitting the like button, because we got to feed the machine. Turn on the spirit box. If I wish I should have brought that, because it's over there packed in I have these cases that I keep all of my equipment in, and that would be something. I'll do that, though. I will maybe do it on Monday. But troublesome, absolutely. Hey, Belanca, good to see you. Hello, Eyes to See. What's up, darling? Good to see you as well. So yeah, so the person wrote, and they said the graphics. Yeah, all right. And it's what's happening. The scenario is, and we're versed with this. Again, I want to pull up. Give me 1 second as I go over here, and y'all can't see me on this, but I can. Now I can go here, and I can go over here. All right. So this is the map that was up until about 2 years ago, and then it came down. So it's important to see here, this map represents the Deagle.com, their projections, and that's all they were based on. Not sure the model, but we had a pretty good idea what some of the data points were. So as you can see, you have areas that are highlighted, particularly United States, in red. Okay, so if you look at this, and let's take South America. Here's Brazil. They have a 1.4% increase in population projected in the year 2025. You go down here, and Uruguay, they have a situation. There is on these models a projected 15% decline. We go over here in Argentina, a 7.4% decline, but we get up into countries like Bolivia. They see a 7.6, which is a very healthy. That's part of the problem we're seeing now in China. I mean, not China, Japan. But Japan has known about this for a while. I mean, this is not something new to them. They've had a challenge with the population not regenerating, not enough babies. And in order for your country to be able to produce and to be a player in the world market, you need a strong population growth. So we can go up here, Peru, Ecuador, minimal. But as you begin to go up here, here's Colombia, Venezuela. Then we go up what we call and through Central America, even Mexico, by 2025 sees a 5% increase. And then if we go over into other places like in Africa, you have places like in Sudan, which right now is suffering from a terrible drought. I wonder why it's not making the news, because it is a humanitarian crisis. But anyway, you come in here in countries like this and you see basically there are but a few. Libya, something happens there. They see a 45% decrease in population. Australia, they see nearly a 35% decline. New Zealand, nearly 25% decline. But then you get up into like Papua New Guinea, you get to 18% increase. You go through all of Eurasia, India. This is kind of interesting that it's about 5%, but even that is somewhat subdued. China, virtually unchanged. Again, Japan, 20% nearly. And then you get into Russia. Russia sees a slight decline of 0.5%. Now, if you were to carry this forward, this would be a real problem. But as you can see, compared to the rest of the world, Russia is basically kind of unaffected in here. Then you get into Ukraine, 30% reduction in population. You get over here into Germany. Germany, much like the United States, 65% reduction in population. England, United Kingdom really is the highest of all of these at nearly, well, it's 77%. Now, I had a conversation with an individual who's got well connected in this, and we were just discussing back and forth these kind of numbers. As he wrote, he said, if this was even to happen, he said, you would basically be looking at, his example was, and it's true, you would be looking at somewhere like in Detroit, somewhere like Toledo. The economy would collapse. Civilization would be literally virtually collapsed at this point. It's doubtful that you would have any type of rule of law. This on, not only is it, when you look at it as a nation is concerned, but you look at the impact it has on the world stage, something's going on here, folks. Even up in Sweden, you're seeing a 25% decrease in population. And then we get over across the pond, Canada, much like Sweden, 26%. But then you get here in the United States, and the United States sees a collapse of nearly 70%. Now, this is, well, it's beyond the pale of even comprehending this. Let me get over here. So we can see that this was the original Deagle.com back in the day. And this is what it looked like. And as you can see, It tracked a number of variables in here and data points, currencies, population, how it compares to the world. You can see that these numbers were in 2017, how big it is, how many inhabitants it has per kilometer in the United States, per mile, how it fits into the world situation, the gross domestic product. I mean, that's what keeps a country from going bankrupt. You can be technically bankrupt, but not be bankrupt. Why? Well, because the people, the citizens, were the chattel. I mean, if we're gone, so is the country. It shows you what the GDP per capita was. So it was well done. And then you get into where they come here in 2017, and all of a sudden you begin to see something happens. So this is Canada. China. Something happens in what can only be seen, as we saw on the previous graph. Something worldwide happens. And if you were a trader, a day trader, stockbroker, you look at these arrow indicators and you're going, oh shit. Reminds me of Bud Fox there in the movie Wall Street. Not a good day to be was not a fun time to be a trader. In fact, it was, wow, the last time the stock market technically collapsed. You got Europe. So we're going to look at these numbers on another chart, but the important thing here it is with the United States. So at the year 2017, our population was, 327 million. The United States is 9.6 million square kilometers in size. We have an average of 34 inhabitants per square kilometer. I love these numbers because that's the way it should be. They pirated from us. Anyway, so you can see 19, we had a $19 trillion, GDP, ranked 24th in the world. That may be wrong. I may be reading that wrong. But in any case, you can see the numbers go across the board. I've shown you the debt clock. And this was pre-COVID. These numbers are it's just ridiculous. So anyway, let me get back over here as he goes. There I am. So something. Now, when Lockheed Martin bought the website, bought Deagle, they were a subcontractor, a contractor for the military and other businesses. But that's what they did. They data mined the data and subsequently would make their models based upon prior models. And it's hard to say if they knew, because here's the problem with the conspiracy on this. If they knew, how could they have known? Well, and I'm glad you asked that question because I think I may have an answer for you. Because the data is there. They don't hide anything. It's just a matter, if you're an aggregator of data, how good are you? So how could this company that was basically had a bunch of, programmers, and then you had your other people that were dealing in, product development and what have you, how could you have even fostered a model that would model in something this freaking devastating? Because folks, let's just be honest with everybody here. We're talking freaking tribulation. We're talking the fulfillment of ancient prophecy, somehow or another coming to pass. You can't rid the world. In this case, we're going to be looking at these numbers of almost 3+ billion, maybe more. Now, we've talked about this before. When President Biden was coming in, he said in his news conference, he said, well, he says, all Americans need to understand we're entering in to dark winter. People thought he was using that metaphorically. No, he was not. We know the exercise that was conducted there nearly 2 decades ago, of a bioterrorism exercise. This was conducted with Andrews Air Force Base, and this exercise took place in June 22nd, June 23rd. I've shown you this document before. I will not spend the arguable type on here, but in this game, and that's what it is, it became really interesting how this unfolded. And in the dark winter scenario, China played a major role in this worldwide bioterrorism attack. And we can get into all the other nuances, but what I find interesting is this. So are we looking at a correlation? Was it these type of documents? Was it the Project 201? Again, I have it's in the archives where I used a number of federal agencies and NGOs came together. These are non-government organizations, and the role-playing exercises that were taking place, and they're still taking place. They just finished one. In this new role-playing exercise, the pale horse, this is, I believe, the horse of death, and using the metaphorical picture of this, it rides up from South America. You know, we don't look at the other parts of the world where these labs are. It's one thing that we found when we went into the Ukraine. They had all these freaking biolabs. So is this why we're seeing nearly 100 million people in the United States projected to, well, not be here anymore? And again, you look at these numbers across the board. Puerto Rico, look at this. It's interesting that they would put that aside, but look at the caveat of that. If I'm reading that right, that's what, nearly 2.5 million people? Where do 2.5 million people go? And if this is even remotely right, there is no modern day infrastructure of any country that could handle this with just the amount of processing bodies. This is unfathomable. I mean, you're talking death on a scale that it's beyond any horror that we could ever be living through. And again, look what happens to Israel. Israel sees nearly half of their population gone. when I saw this, you have to take all scenarios. So I said, well, what happens? What if this is the rapture? You know, the one that Paul was supposedly made reference to. Is this the catching away? I mean, because when you begin to add up the amount of bodies that this represents, it's staggering. I mean, just look at the population changes. Again, the United Kingdom they top the list, almost 80%. Yeah, you know, and again, it's, to me, it's unfathomable that a scenario like this would actually happen. But again, there's apparently something that's going to take place. And again, I contend that we may be seeing the beginning of that today. I mean, if there is an increase, of which all indicators show that there is, that this now regional conflict will begin to pull in every freaking free world country into this, which then sets up the axis on the other side. I mean, the other scenario on, if you look at this, all right, so if it's not the rapture, if it isn't some kind of spiritual thing, then what is this? Is this a war? I mean, what's happening? Is there a pathogen that's released? Is this one of these things, let's say, worst case scenario, bombing, what have you, it hits a lab that no one really knew about. This lab has got some nasty, nasty crap. And boom, it's blown up, and somehow or another it gets released. That is the scenario through the South American corridor. It's much like the movie War Games back in the 80s with Matthew Broderick. The computer, as you saw in the different scenarios, you're just looking at all these different potential scenarios from the most remote places. You know, there's places in South America that there's no modern man still has taken step into. And again, England could not survive this. I mean, this would just be unfreaking believable. And in the scale of the loss. Now, when they put it in a chart like this and rank from the highest to the lowest in population decreasing, I mean, it is extremely frightening. Because the truth is, if you look at where the countries like the Netherlands, Brazil, we talked about this, and you look at this on the scale of going, all right, so what is the greatest increase? Here is the crazy thing. Lebanon. Now, I don't know how you get a 60% increase in a country that, let me pull it back up for everybody. Israel sees a 50% decrease. I don't know how that happens, because they're next door to each other. And then this begins to take on some freaky stuff, because you got to, what we're finding about this thing that they've let loose on us, that this thing is mutating. I read today, this was from the CDC, it said that it's mutating faster than anyone can keep up with it. And, you know, go to numerous articles on this, where pathologists have said that, you know, we don't know what this thing is doing. So what we do know is that you're talking large scale population decreases. So, I mean, draw what you want. And again, it's just a model, I know. But I can tell you, I ran companies. That's what we do. If you are an internet company, you have databases. Your data is what's valuable. And, you harvest enough data, you can begin to do some really interesting trend predictions. Now, I don't know. Again, we're seeing some things unfold over in the European region that is just bad mojo, man. That's all I got to say. It's just freaking bad. Don't want to use no F-bombs. I'm just telling you, it's freaking bad. We need another Hands Across the World and stop this nonsense. This is nuts. I don't think any human alive. I wrote here in a note here, I said, we're living in a creation. The question that one must ask, is this the creation of our making, or is this the creation of something else? Now, if you believe in prophecy, that somehow some dude was on an island, there in the Greek Isles, and that it was supposedly this prison camp, but yet he had the writing instruments, he had everything he needed. Why? Because he was, if the story is true, well, John was a magician. Some say he may have been Merlin. Because if what he wrote was in fact where he time traveled, it's the only way it could happen. There had to be some form of time traveling taking place here. And if he was in this modern era, and I'm saying if because I haven't talked to the dude, wouldn't have any idea. Probably look around going, oh, shit, man. But if, in fact, of what he has written, then he cast a spell of such a nature that this spell is so powerful that after 2,000 years, it's having effect still. It may have come to pass once, but if it's damn sure going to happen again, that is some of the most powerful magic I know of. Because that's all that prophecy is. It's a manipulation tool. It's a drug. And if you're saying that somehow on this grand chessboard that something is touching me, just like I can feel a hand. Stop it. Wow. Okay. Shall we continue? Man, I'm trying to do a show here. But anyway, then it boils down to then what's the purpose? Now, if this is of our creation, that's an indictment against the entire genus of who we are. That's crazy. But I don't see the angels. I don't see the demons. I don't see the bad guys dying. It's always us. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. I'm just telling you. I'm going to take the role of the dude in Office Space. Got hypnotized. No, I'm not going to do that today. No. A world war? No, we're not going to let that happen today. No. Hunger? Nah, we're not going to let that happen anymore. Maybe we do need hands across the world where the human beings come forth and we chase these clowns out. We put them back in the back room, let them play with themselves. In fact, we'll give them an island, set them all up. They can have all the guns and all the bullets and all the missiles, and, we'll give them their own island and just let them have at each other. The rest of us will smoke our joints. We'll have our martinis. We'll have our cup of coffees, our hot teas. We'll play the music that makes us dance. And, and we'll turn the weapons back into implements that can heal the earth and maybe start doing some good with it. Anyway, there you go. That's my rant. Next week, we're going to continue on with Magick, because this is some serious freaking magic that's on. This is a powerful spell. I mean, you tell me where I'm wrong on this prophecy thing. How is that not a spell? I'm just saying. I don't know. I just know that I don't like what this whole scenario is. And I can tell you, in the future markets, in the commodity markets, they're anticipating something. I mean, it's if you know where to look, the signs are everywhere. And it's almost like we're self-programmed. When a word is spoken, bada ba, bada ba, I don't know, whatever that word may be, all of a sudden, man, something triggers in us psychically. And so subconsciously, no matter what we're doing, we're adding into this spell. What's that, David? Oh, okay. I'll take that down then. That's cool. Well, at least we had it out. If anyone does have it, now you got collector's item. You see, no one bought anything in the store. That's okay. I did, and I'll keep it. Someone says, okay, how do we nullify? I think through the frequency. That is why they have frequency barriers. Well, listen, I would agree with you. I mean, think about the thing about what we've never done studies on are things like 5G, 1G. We know that when you create electromagnetic fields, it has an impact on living things, particularly us. And in fact, anyone who does any type of paranormal work, it's the first thing you look for. I have an EMF meter that will tell me that if there is background microwave radiation, that's what it is, that impacts us. And we're in this magnetic soup. Wi-Fi, it's everywhere. And that's exactly what it does. It's Wi-Fi. That's all I'm saying. So there you go. All right, folks. Man, you know what? It seems like I just had this conversation last Friday. And in an instant, here we are in Friday again. Wow. So weird. So thank you, everyone. I do appreciate you, all of you. I really do. I try to keep it interesting. I respect your time, and your time is of most value. So I consider it an honor that you would spend that which is most precious to you, It's not money. You know, it's your energy. It's your essence. That's what counts. That's what I take with me. So, hey, Gilbert, what's up? Grace, good to see you, dear. Where are your shungite? You know, I have my shungite. It's right over here, by the way. Big old bag of it. All right. Have a great Saturday and Sunday. See you back on Monday. Next week, we'll continue to explore the area of the occult, magic, casting spells. Yeah, you know what? I believe if there is a spell that's been cast on us and all the evidence shows thus far, then it's going to take a spell of equal intensity to counter it. And that happens when one person after another person becomes aware of the spell, and that's where we begin to find the little cracks. They may be micro cracks, but we see it where it is, and then we start expanding it. So, as Brian says, have a great weekend. Indeed. I appreciate it, David. Yes. Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, folks. Until then, as the cowboys say, never goodbye. Just see you a little bit